Today, we're jumping into the work of Philip Crosby. Now, he was a total giant in business management who took this fuzzy, kind of vague idea of quality and just completely turned it on its head. His whole philosophy was super simple, but wow, was it revolutionary.
So let's start with the problem he was trying to solve. What's with this number? Well, according to Crosby's research, service businesses can waste up to 35% of their entire operational budget. Why? Just by not doing things right the first time. I mean, let that sink in. That's more than a third of the money spent just to run the business. Gone. Wasted.
And Crosby framed this waste in a really powerful way. It wasn't just some line item, an expense, or the cost of doing business. No, he called it the price of nonconformance. It was the real, measurable cost of bad quality. All the time, all the money, and all the materials spent fixing mistakes that really should never have happened.
This whole idea led him to his most famous and honestly most provocative concept. It was so big, he named his 1979 book after it. He basically asked, what if you focused on preventing mistakes instead of just fixing them? If you did that, well then quality doesn't actually cost you a dime. In fact, it saves you a ton of money.
So who was this guy, Philip B. Crosby, the man behind this radical idea?
Well, the thing about Crosby is that he wasn't some academic living in an ivory tower. Nope. This guy spent 14 years as a vice president at ITT, right in the trenches, seeing the costs of poor quality every single day. And that experience has shaped his entire philosophy. He was convinced that the responsibility for quality starts at the very top with management, and he created these really practical, actionable ways to teach leaders how to think differently, like his famous Quality College. And this quote, man, it just nails his whole philosophy. The investment you make up front, in training and designing better processes, and just getting things right from the get-go is always, always cheaper than the cost of rework, scrap, and ticked-off customers. It's the unquality things, as he called them, that drain your budget, not quality itself. Okay, so to actually make this whole free quality idea a reality, Crosby came up with this really clear, actionable framework. He called them the 4 absolutes of quality management, and they became the bedrock for any organization that was serious about getting better. These 4 principles, they all work together like a complete system. They cover everything: how you define quality, the system you use to get it, the standard you hold yourself to, and finally, how you measure it all. So, let's break each one down. All right, the first absolute is all about clarity. Crosby insisted that quality isn't some vague feeling like goodness or elegance. It's way more precise than that. It is simply conformance to requirements. Did you do what you said you were going to do? Yes or no? By defining it this way, quality suddenly becomes super clear, objective, and measurable for everybody. Now, this is where you see a huge shift in mindset. The old way, the traditional system, was all about appraisal. You'd make a bunch of stuff, check it at the end, and then fix or scrap the mistakes. Crosby said that's just incredibly wasteful. His system is all about prevention. You design your processes and train your people to eliminate the possibility of an error from the very beginning. It's about being proactive, not reactive. And here we have it, maybe his most demanding and for sure his most famous absolute. The performance standard isn't pretty good or within an acceptable range. Nope, it's 0 defects. The goal is to do it right the first time, every single time. He argued that if you set the standard at close enough, you're basically giving people permission to make mistakes. 0 defects just wipes that idea off the table entirely. This little observation from Crosby just perfectly sets up his final absolute. He noticed that managers track everything: sales, costs, profits, down to the last penny. But when it came to quality, they used these vague charts and indexes. He knew that to get management to take quality seriously, he had to speak their language.
And that language, of course, is money. The 4th absolute says the measurement of quality is the price of nonconformance, or PONC for short. This isn't some abstract metric. It's a hard dollar figure. It's the cost of all that wasted time, all that scrap material, all that rework that comes from not meeting the requirements in the first place. By calculating this number, managers could finally see the true financial gut punch of poor quality.
So, how do these 4 things actually work together to make a seemingly impossible goal like 0 defects actually happen? Let's connect the dots. It all starts with that first absolute. We have a crystal clear, black and white definition. You either met the requirement or you didn't. There's no gray area.
Then you bring in the second absolute. Your entire system is proactively built to prevent nonconformance. You're not sitting around waiting to catch mistakes. You are building a process where they can't even happen.
And when you think about it that way, with a clear definition and a system built on prevention, the logic is kind of undeniable, right? I mean, what else could the goal possible be?
And that's the crucial point here. Zero defects isn't just some motivational slogan you stick on a poster. In Crosby's framework, it's the only logical performance standard. It's just the inevitable outcome of a system built on his first two absolutes. You know, the influence of these ideas really can't be overstated. They didn't just improve a few companies. They fundamentally changed the entire vocabulary of modern management. I mean, just think about how often you hear these phrases today. Zero defects, doing it right the first time, conformance to requirements. These were once radical, out-there concepts that Crosby championed. Now, they're foundational principles taught in business schools and boardrooms all over the world, and they literally paved the way for modern methods like Lean and Six Sigma. Crosby's work really makes you think, doesn't it? So I'll just leave you with this question. In your own job, or maybe even a personal project, what's the actual cost of doing things wrong? What is the price of nonconformance in your world? Because as Crosby showed us, figuring that out, well, it might just change everything.